What's up, guys? It's Loza, and we're here with Nathan, our resident local Royal Knight enjoyer. He's just one local, so take us through your profile.
No worries, thanks man. Pretty excited to get back into the game, playing Royal Knights, which is a favorite deck of mine. Starting off, we'll just go through, I guess, the same cards that haven't really changed. So obviously, King Drasil, 4 copies, going to be the same as previously. Nothing there, it does what it does. On top of that, we're also still running 4 copies of Magnamon, the amazing turn one play still. It's your blocker. It provides draw whatever it leaves the field, whether that's getting shuffled up under King Drasil or your opponent trying to get rid of it. You're still getting, more to the hand. We are also still running or Dynasmon. Great in the early game, great in the mid game. He's going to be searching 2 pieces. The detriment of trashing certain cards from your deck isn't as bad as it used to be with the new Lord Nightmon on top of the old Lord Nightmon if you want to run it, but losing more Royal Knights overall in the deck isn't as bad as the new build is a little bit more aggressive. And then we're still also running 4 copies of the Omnimon, the main stake, I guess, of the deck. He's the one that allows you to pull off your big combo at the end. And obviously being able to kind of still just pop anything on the field without restrictions is great as well. So those things are going to be the same from the previous iteration of the build. But as for the updated with the BT20 and the new meta, we've got a whole range of new Royal Knight cards that have been added in. It makes the deck a lot more aggressive. But we'll just start with our rookie count. So we're running 4 copies of System on Blank. You can still run the other System on Blank or the System on, I believe it's Noir, that is the Search for and Rebooter. But with the current build of the deck, I think 4 copies of this does more than enough. It's a ditch 1, draw 2, which is fantastic. And as you can see, overall, our deck is more red slash black oriented. So the decoy here is just super good for keeping your Royal Knights on the board and being absorbed by your King Drasil. Moving on from that, we are now running 4 copies of the new Omekamon. For those who know, yeah, obviously the card is pretty broken. For those who don't, so on play, if you do have 1 security, you don't really get this off too often, but you have the ability to warp into the new Omnimon X antibody. But he's mainly there to be a blocker to kind of protect your security, give you a little bit more defensive support, and his new ability as well allows you to interact from the breeding zone. On top of lowering the Digivolution cost on play cost of your Royal Knights, you can now tap King Drasil in the breeding zone to summon an Omekamon out. So you're essentially getting 2 blocks for the price of 1 card. You can't really complain about that. Secondly, we're running just 3 copies of the Omekamon. I've seen people still running 4 copies of this. I've seen people running 2 copies. I think 3 is a good middle ground. He's still great early turn play. He combos off the Cool Boy, which we'll get to in just a moment. A free draw 1 on play is still good, and being able to, on deletion, being able to speed up your play is still very much effective. We'll jump down to Cool Boy now. So Cool Boy is an absolutely amazing addition to the deck. Very much a broken card in this deck. On top of being able to draw an additional card and gain a memory on play of a Royal Knight now, which not only allows you to kind of bring down bigger Royal Knights earlier on. It's such a great addition to the deck in the fact that you're getting so much more consistency in the hand and finding more of your kind of toolbox of Royal Knights a lot quicker. With your Royal Knights being deleted off turn previously, you weren't really getting anything from it other than if your Magnamon essentially was being deleted and you were drawing. But with Cool Boy now, you can essentially summon a Mechamon for free. So you're just getting a blocker down for free where you're either stopping their next attack or you're getting a free draw and potentially if they have an added effect of deleting something on the field that they're forced to use, you're speeding up your King Drasil Omnimon combo even quicker. It's super good card. Great support for the deck. Moving on, we'll just jump to the option cards next. So I'm running 3 copies of Royal Knights Purge, so taking it down from your standard 4 copies. The card is still very good in this deck, but I think it's just making way for the new support that's just a little bit better. 3 copies is good because you still want to see this card. It's still good in the early game, still good in the mid game. You're getting a free draw, and much like the Omekamon, placing a Royal Knight straight under your King Drasil to speed up your plays. So that's never bad. But the addition to some of the newer Royal Knights being able to summon them on the board and their kind of off-turn effects makes this card still just as good to have. So I think 3 copies is very comfortable. I didn't find myself hating drawing into it at all during the local tournament on Saturday. And towards the end of the game, when you don't really need it as much, you have ways to kind of use it with your system on blanks to ditch it and draw, so it's all good. Next up is the new card, The Last Guardian. This is much like the Cool Boy and very awesome addition to the deck, great support. Uh, it's another early game card that you can use to search Cool Boy and a Royal Knight or X Antibody card. So just adding more consistency to the deck. And the fact that you can kind of slam your Omnimon now or your Omnimon X antibodies and have this on the field and them not be either placed under King Drasil during your next turn, so you have a body to stay on the field to attack or block with the further turn, or just adds a little bit more pressure to your opponent's side of the board as well. And as well, if you catch it in the security, playing a Omekamon or Cool Boy from the hand without paying the cost is also like just as good as well. So we'll move on to our Royal Knight lineup now. So we are running 2 copies of Gankumon. So much like my previous build of Royal Knights, still running just the 2 copies of Gankumon. So after the locals on Saturday, might bump him up to 3. Still thinking about it. Essentially, Gankumon being able to play he's on play being a play Systemon from trash or Royal Knight from underneath your King Drasil. That isn't specifically Omnimon or Gankumon, so he can't play himself. Is really, really good in this deck, especially with the newer additions, as they still get their on-play effect. And you can essentially get a little bit more aggressive with Omnimon X antibody, or getting the token from the new Jesmon, which we'll go on about, or even a rush attack with the Gallantmon if he's under there. The fact that he allows you to play pretty much any of your Royal Knights from under King Drasil, even though they don't have rush, but gaining their on-play effects makes him a very good and solid card for either just a sudden build-up of a board out of nowhere, and also still kind of controlling your opponent's board with depending on who you kind of summon out with him. Next up, we've got 1 copy of Gallantmon. I think he's a bit of a tech card in this deck. He's still a very good card. I see a lot of people trying to run 2 or 3 of him. I do see the reason behind it, but I feel like 1 copy is good enough. If you do see him, he's great. His effect is on play when digivolving and when attacking. So with Rush, you can actually, effectively destroy 2 of your opponent's Digimon on board. And the fact that not just King Drasil, but even his own inherent effects allows you to pay him cheaper means that you can get him out very quickly. However, I find a lot of people tend to either leave their mid stacks or their level 6s on board with the current meta, and a lot of them have between 6k and 13k DP. So a lot of the time when Gallantmon comes out, he actually doesn't really touch anything. He just ends up being a body with rush, and people usually have a way to kind of stop him from attacking or potentially even just getting rid of him. So I think he's a comfortable one-of. He sometimes does really great work, but other times he's just like just another name. So I think 1's quite comfortable. Moving on, we've got the new Jesmon from BT20. He's such a fantastic addition to the deck in the sense that he now adds a body on the board in the form of a token that won't disappear, and it has a whole bunch of useful effects. So it's a 6k blocker, so kind of hard to get around for a lot of your opponent's effects. He also has decoy red and black, so he can protect Jesmon and a lot of your other Royal Knights as well. He's essentially a bait target for your opponent to have to deal with before they deal with your Royal Knights, which is always good because him getting deleted imposes no effects on the rest of your kind of gameplay. He also allows for chip damage the following turn because a lot of the time when you summon your Royal Knights, they're obviously unable to attack on the turn they come down. So being able to get in early chip damage means you're no longer waiting till turn 6, turn 7, turn 8 to try and Omnimon combo and OTK your opponent. This allows you to kind of rush your opponent down a little bit quicker. On top of that, being able to delete something 8k or less and have another Digimon on your board attack, whether it's a Systemon or a Omekamon that's been summoned in an earlier turn, or even the token itself, is just as good. Next up, I'm running 2 copies of the new BT20 Alphamon. Still seeing how I'm going with this ratio. He's quite comfortable at 2 at the moment. Having just a free recovery to kind of give yourself a bit more breathing room and a bit more time when you're up against an opponent who's got a more aggressive playstyle or an aggressive deck is quite nice. The fact as well that he's got quite a great defensive ability in the fact that off turn, if your opponent does get in a security chip, you can kind of pop one of their bodies or at least lower one of their bodies that if they want to swing it again, they run the risk of it being deleted. I think 2 is a comfortable number in that sense, but I'll see if I end up increasing or decreasing that. Next, we're running 2 of BT19 Lord Nightmon from one of the more recent sets. I'm running him instead of the old Nightmon because with the combination of the new system on blank, you can kind of comfortably ditch any spare Magnamon, Omekamon, or Omekamons from your hand without much worry because Lord Nightmon can actually summon them back from trash and they will get their on-play effects. Also, it's a really good defensive card that you can kind of redirect your opponent's attack into itself or another Royal Knight trait card, kind of like an additional blocker in that sense. So you're kind of saving yourself in that way. I'm kind of thinking I might want to run this at 3, just in regards to some of my matchup at locals that went a little bit longer. I found myself kind of either ditching a lot more cards from either the system on blank trying to find answers or even the Dynasmon ditching multiple Omekamons. Ditching the previous BT13 Omekamon isn't always the worst, but kind of ditching the newer ones that combo off both your Cool Boys, your Last Guardians, isn't as fantastic. You really kind of want to have access to those. So just trying to see if I want to improve that consistency and recycling of the trash there. Next up, we are running the new Jesmon GX Ace. So this card's great. It's able to pop something 16k or lower on the field. You can blast Evo into it because King Drasil's ability to not allow your Digimon to Digivolve is only on your turn. So being able to protect yourself off turn and actually slow down your opponent's play by possibly deleting one of their stacks and setting them back quite a bit is awesome. You can also, on an Omnimon play, once you have your Jesmon and Gankumon out, if you kind of set yourself up that way, get a free DNA Digivolve and an additional hit, and also his additional effect of being able to trash one of your opponent's security cards as well. So essentially, hitting for 2 at that stage. I have also learnt with a new ruling. So with the ace cards and how they interact with King Drasil. So usually ace cards, if they're removed from the play area or the battle area, the overflow effect does come into account. However, there is a ruling that states when an ace card moves into the Digivolution source of a Digimon, that doesn't trigger overflow. So essentially Bandai's rule that the Digivolution source area of a Digimon is essentially a safe zone that doesn't trigger overflow. So because even though it's getting removed from the battle or the play area and going under King Drasil, that's actually just moving from one safe zone to another. So it doesn't trigger the overflow. So that's why this is such a cool addition to the deck. It's a 9 cost that can pop pretty much most things in the game that doesn't have protection. Um, so it's another just cheap way to get out if your opponent has, memory blockers and such like that. Um, but I will say, just to keep in mind for people that are looking to run this kind of deck, quite often you'll summon multiples of the same cards. So you might summon, multiple Magnamons throughout the game, multiple Dynasmons, etc. And they will all get sucked up under your King Drasil. If you happen to play 2 of your Jessamon GXs throughout the game and it gets absorbed under the King Drasil due to its effect, and then you play Omnimon the following turn, um, because Omnimon only allows you to play one Digimon or one Royal Knight with a different name from under your King Drasil, one of these Jessamon GXs will go to the grave. Because it's going from a safe area to now the trash zone, it will consider that as triggering overflow. So you actually lose the 5 memory there. So just for people, helpful tip there. Next up, we're going on to the new Omnimon X Antibody. No, all I can say about this card is pretty broken. You've got access to raid, piercing, and blocker. Um, his on play slash when digivolving is if it has the Omnimon or X antibot under it, obviously you choose one of your Digimon, one of your opponents, delete everything else, and then this returns one of your opponent's Digimon to the bottom of the deck. So essentially, it's a board wipe. You don't really get that main ability of deleting everything else on the board. But even still, returning one of your opponent's Digimon to the bottom of the deck is such an effective way to remove a threat on the board in this meta. Things seldom have protection against placing to the bottom of the deck. It's usually destruction or bounce to hand that things will be unaffected by. So it's a really great way to kind of remove access to certain bodies as well. Because a lot of decks these days also have an easier way to just get things back on the board or recycle from trash. What's also really great is that at the end of your turn, this Digimon, one of your Digimon can gain Rush and attack without suspending. So you can actually play this Omnimon X Antibody, and the turn it comes down, it gets a free attack in. You can raid, go straight into your opponent's Digimon. Most things won't have over 16k DP anyway, or equivalent to it, and get a piercing check in, and then he's just going to be a blocker on board. Comboing that off with obviously your last Guardian just means he's going to stick around a lot longer. You're going to get a lot of free chips in, and being able to keep your opponent from wanting to put stronger bodies on board is, such a aggressive way to control the board, and it's such a different way of playing the Royal Knights deck, which I think is a huge improvement. Previously, you were playing a lot more of a defensive control style where you were just biding your time until you could, play your Omnimon and, go full combo OTK. With the addition of this Omnimon X Antibody, the Cool Boys, and the Jessamon, you're able to get a lot more chip damage in on top of keeping your opponent's board at bay, which I think speeds up this deck tremendously. So, great addition to the deck. 3 copies for sure. I wouldn't go 4 copies because too many of him ends up being a little bit dead because he is 16 cost to play. It does take a while before you can start playing him effectively. But you definitely want to be seeing him early on or as quick as possible. Moving on, we're also playing the new Alphamon or you can mode Ace. A very great defensive control card for the deck. The same thing with the Jessamon GX Ace. If he gets placed under the King Drasil, you're not going into the overflow. But if you have multiple of him, be careful. On play, being able to just straight up delete something by 15k, he's an alternative way to remove and control your opponent's board. Sometimes people will be protected against deletion effects, but negative 15k DP is going to flow on, and obviously till the end of your opponent's next turn, that'll usually kill something. Or on the other side, if people have protection against DP reduction, usually they don't have protection against straight up destruction. So you've got a toolbox of ways to kind of get rid of your opponent's board. You won't really get the DNA Digivolve effect off. you can, but it's quite difficult. But it's usually not a problem. The recovery +1 is usually accounted for with Alphamon here. But he's once per turn, all turns effect of when a security stack is removed from game 3 memory is um, so good. It makes your opponent have to think twice about wanting to swing in when this guy's on the board. Being at 9 costs and with the combination of the new Cool Boy, you can actually kind of sit yourself nicely at 3 memory a lot of the time. Early the early mid game, you end up being able to play him for free very quickly. If you play him for free, and then Cool Boy's giving you access to 3 more memory, 2 more memory, and you can comfortably play even a second Alphamon. And if they can't get rid of both of them, there's no way they're going to attack into you because they'll just be losing 6 memory essentially. So I think 2's a comfortable number. You do want to see him early, but you don't want to be seeing too many of him because being another ace card, especially a level 7 ace with overflow 5, if your opponent does have easy ways to get rid of these kind of big bodies or bodies that don't have sources under them, you're just giving up free memory. So he's still good, but yeah, I feel like 2's a perfect number at this point, but potential that you could play him at 3 or 4, depending on how aggressive you kind of want to get. Um, yeah, and that's the kind of deck there. I feel like the additions, like I said previously, they allow you to be a lot more aggressive in your play style. You don't actually have to wait around for the Omnimon play anymore. You can effectively almost win the game of just chipping away with your kind of level 4s and lower and your token. Um, at locals on Saturday, I ended up going against one of the boys was actually playing the same deck that won the world champs. I managed to eke out the win in game 3 simply by I think I was just playing hyper aggressive with my essentially a Gankumon and Omnimon X antibody. So I just kind of ignored the fact that I was giving my opponent 6 to 8 memory a turn. I was just slamming Omnimon X antibody down, getting the free attack, beating up his body on board, and then rushing him down by just playing another Gankumon to bring out the same Omnimon, kind of attacking again. And because my opponent can't really deal with Omnimon X antibody effectively, um, he I think gave up a turn where he had to do something quite aggressive and leave me on 5 memory because I was rushing him down a little bit faster than they liked because they were trying to still build up their combo stack essentially. That after that, I think turn 4, I slammed down Omnimon and I literally won the game by um, essentially controlling the board with Omnimon X antibodies effect and then going in for like a double swing the following turn. So the fact that you can win the game now with literally just 3 Royal Knights as opposed to needing like 6 in previous metas, I think is what really makes this deck kind of stand out now and actual viable in this meta.
All right, well, hell yeah, it was a very impressive finals. Galaxy versus Royal Knights. I think they're going to be two of the big contenders this format.
Yeah, that's for sure.
But yeah, congrats again, and keen to see the list again when you win and change it up.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks, man.